Hello friends, Tanya here, and I am doing a bunch of products from Spellbinders July 2022 release from the Celebrate the Season collection, the Glimmer Greetings collection, and the Stitchmas collection. Here are my bunches of products that I received for July's release, and you can see my organization system. This is the Stitched Petal Diamond die set. It comes with a A2 size die for the frame, and then the plate that cuts out all of these stitching details. You can either do the die cutting or the embossing here, and I'm pulling out the new universal plate system from Spellbinders, and the embossing for a die is this sandwich. Now, if you still just have the regular Spellbinders platform set, then you can just do your platform, your die, your paper, the mat, the embossing mat, and the embossing plate. You do see a seam in the middle of that, but it's easily hidden. Now I'm showing you how I make this match up. So you do your first die cutting, and then you find these overlap pieces in your design, and you just lock those together, and it creates this full half sheet piece. And you can do that as much as you need to create a piece of paper that's as large as you need. Next, we have the Glimmer Greetings collection. I am in love with these Plaid, Tidings, and crossed-lined Cardfront plates. Stunning results on all kinds of materials. That was some hammermill cardstock. This is some cardstock that I used with my gel press plate and some acrylic medium and shimmer powders. And these are Spellbinders cardstocks. We've got Lunar, Postbox, Stormy Sky, and Chamomile here, and they foiled gorgeously in a variety of different foils. You're going to see lots of projects made with these. Next, we have the Essential Diamonds. These coordinate very well with the crossed lines, with your plaid, etc. And then we have our Merry Glimmer Sentiments. These glimmer a bunch of Christmas sentiments, and they have coordinating dies. Love that. I love a good coordinating die for anything, especially for our Glimmer Sentiments. It really makes them so much more versatile. Here I have glimmered a few onto a scrap of hammermill. I have become a hammermill convert. I love these. Spellbinders also has a specialty cardstock that works fantastic with your foiling. Next, we have the Celebrate the Season collection. Now keep in mind, I only have parts of each of these. This is the Glitter Wishes sentiment set, and there are so many sentiments. Absolutely adore them. You'll keep seeing me pulling this envelope out. I had been playing with these different elements, and as you can see, I glimmered up a bunch of these sentiments, and then I even used the negative and foiled those on some cardstock, and I'll be using the coordinating die to die cut those. There's one long die in the stamp set, or excuse me, in the set, that will cut any size you want. I did a lot of partial die cutting to get the look I like. I am also in love with this Winter Welcome Sled die set. It creates these skates, ice skates, this beautiful little sled, and it also creates a poinsettia and some foliage. I didn't use, on that one, I didn't use some of them. This is the Holiday Blooms die set. This is a layering foliage and flowers and all of the beautiful things. I've really enjoyed the etched blossoms, or all of those different flowers. Last up, we have the Mix and Match Holiday Greetings dies. These are just dies. They cut out all of these words in this beautiful font. Here I've die cut all of them in a shimmery cardstock and glued them to the paper, just so I could see what I had. Now, let's just get right into this. I have 5 cards to show you today, and I'm actually going to take all of the pieces of the Winter Welcome Sled die set here, and I'm going to assemble them into the finished products. You can see on this silver frame, there are several little dots that help guide where you place the pieces of the sled. Now, don't do as I do on this particular piece. You want to flip that around. You can see that there is a hole that is more close to or closer to the edge than the other, and that's the one that goes at the top. You can use these little dots at the cross points to line up with the whole of your different pieces from the sleds to get good alignment. There are 6 wood pieces that will layer onto your sled, 5 across that you would sit on, kind of the platform, and then 1 across the top that is kind of the steering mechanism. I don't know if you've ever ridden one of these sleds, but they are absolutely adorable, and they do go pretty darn fast. It's been a long time since I've used one. I don't think I'd fit on one as an adult, but they are definitely a popular rustic item to display at Christmas time. And they do bring back so many great childhood memories. That is all of the wood pieces layered on, and you can see even though I put that piece on upside down, it still looks nice. Next, we're going to assemble our ice skates, and they are super simple. I chose black and white because that's a pretty classic ice skating color, especially a figure skating. Around here, there's a lot of hockey, which would be more black, as I recall. My kids weren't in hockey. That was not something I had them time or money for. It's a very expensive sport for your children to play. We are going to do 2 of these, and you can see that the blades line up perfectly. These were ingeniously designed to make this as easy as possible to create this very detailed, gorgeous look. I'm just going to layer the smaller piece over the larger piece. That gives us the heel and the sole along with the laces of the skate. And then you just add little dots to the little tiny circles at the top of the blades and line up. I tend to just line up the center of the heel, and that will make everything else fall into the right spot. We have this little piece that acts as a string that connects the 2 so you can hang them off of anything, including the front of the sled. There is the completed pair of skates. You don't have to make 2, but you sure can. I was having a little bit of a struggle here getting this to adhere, but if I just let it sit and had a little patience, the glue would have set and it would have been fine. Next, we're going to take some of this foliage. I'm going to take 2 layers of the same die cut for the poinsettia and layer those together. And then we're going to take the centers. We've got this blobby piece and then several little tiny circles. They all are on one die, and they will create the beautiful center of our poinsettia. They are very easy to assemble. Yes, they're very tiny, but as you can see, I just took a bunch of small containers to hold my little pieces so that I could easily access them and add them to my die cut elements. There are so many great details here. I did use some cardstock that I had sprayed with some shimmer spray to die cut all of these different elements. And I used different greens and reds and browns to create all of this foliage. I'm going to use the same way to assemble this bunch of foliage over and over just to simplify things for myself. But there are endless ways you could use these pieces to add foliage to your designs. I'm going to group 1 of each element for each side, so I'll have 2 of each. And you can see actually each of these elements has 2 different styles. They have one that swooshes one way and one that swooshes the other. And I'm just going to use those in concert with each other and layer them together into these little trio groupings. Then I'll have the completed pieces that I can tuck behind our assembled poinsettias here. I did use a gem in the center of some of the poinsettias, and that's just another way to finish these. And you could make these in a variety of colors. I've seen poinsettias in pinks, I've seen them in corals, I've seen them in white, and I've seen them in red. I've even seen some that are white with a green tinge. They're all so gorgeous. So many great ways to add the colors, to add color to your Christmas projects. And I'm going to assemble this particular sled with all of the elements from this die set. It comes together very quickly once I've assembled all of these pieces. I'm just going to adhere our little skates, and I'm going to use a sentiment from the Glitter Wishes that I have glimmer foiled in Aura, and I am going to die cut this with the accompanying die, just going to do some partial die cutting. I line up one end with where I want it to be, and then I only partially die cut it, slide the die over, and finish die cutting it. I've added some dimension behind that strip, and I'm going to adhere that directly to our little sled between the poinsettia and the skates. I've got this is Dune cardstock. It's a new color from Spellbinders, and I love it. This is the, what is it called? Phone Booth Red from Trinity, or no, not Trinity. This is from Spellbinders, and it came out a couple, 2-3 months ago, and I've had it in my stash and not used it. I love how the Spellbinders paper foils. It is dreamy. I love it. And you can see that my sled is missing one of the feet, so to speak. When I was trimming off my dimension, I accidentally trimmed that off, but c'est la vie, we're going to go with it. I'm also using a Glimmer sentiment from the, I think it was called the Gifts of Christmas from last year's Be Merry collection, and added that to the inside. Now we're going to use the Holiday Blooms and our Winter Welcome Sled and the Essential Diamonds and the Crossed Lines card fronts. We're going, and let's see, Glitter Wishes, Holiday Blooms. Yeah, I've used a ton of products on this particular card. I had so much fun. I created so many elements. We're going to take some of these Holiday Blooms dies and assemble them just so I can show you how easy they are. Almost everything, if it's a layering element, it only has 2 pieces. Super easy, and I love that all of these Holiday Blooms dies, if it is something that has multiple pieces, they have dies that cut multiples all at once. So if you want to create these 2 clusters of berries or blossoms, whatever you want them to be, you have a die that does the triple stem and a die that does the single stem, and then you have one die that cuts all 4 of what I die cut in red. The same goes for this branch with the branch of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the accompanying little blossoms has one die that cuts 6 blossoms all at once. It is such a time saver, and I love that they have started doing this. It makes creating these layered blooms and blossoms and foliages so much faster and so much easier. I love when a craft company takes that into consideration. We do love our layering dies, but we don't always want to spend all of our time die cutting. I'm going to adhere our Crossed Lines card front paper cardstock. Yeah, words, they're hard. I had cut that down with the precision layering dies, and that is about 4 inches by 5 1/4. Next, we're taking one of the essential diamonds, and that fits right into our crossed lines perfectly. Okay, mine isn't lined up perfectly. That's user error. That is not the fault of the product. You can see that my bottom point is just off a smidge. I do enjoy using a clear block to add a little weight to let my glue dry and everything adhere well. And I love that you can see right through it and start planning the layout of the rest of your elements right over the top. I'm doing that with this poinsettia, which is gorgeous. I have 2 layers of red and 1 of green because poinsettias have the same leaves for their green parts as they do for their petals. And then we have a couple of pine boughs, and we have some of these red berries / blossoms, and then we have some of those pink flowers. And I'm just carefully adhering all of those together to get a swag that's going to go on our card. Now, you could take this swag and put it right in the middle, on the top, on the bottom, or a variety of ways. You could even do this sideways to help highlight your sentiment. But we are going to add the skates to this card also. And I had designed this swag to go upright, but then I flipped it around and I actually liked it much better this way. Happy accidents. I'm lining everything up so that I can get everything adhered the way I like it. And I'm going to glue our skates down. And I did use some Dilutions shimmer spray to color this cardstock. And FYI, it shows your glue. The glue will take some of the shimmer spray right off of your cardstock, so be careful. I'm just going to go with my little bit of moved ink. That's okay. We're going to line the sentiment right up in the center, and then we'll save our swag to adhere last. I really like how these holiday blooms create endless possibilities for floral groupings and swags and garlands. So many beautiful ways. I know I say that all the time, but I love a good versatile product. We have the Precision Layering Mini Slimline dies here, and I use these precision layering dies for so many things. They are another essential. They have saved my bacon when I want to die cut a sentiment so many times. That was another one of the gifts of Christmas glimmers. I had glimmered a bunch of them way back last year and had extras to use up. Love pulling those things out. Next, we are using the stitched petal diamond background. I have the stitched version that I've cut down to 4.5 by 6.5 for a 5 by 7 card. And I had a little glue come through my spots, and then I tried to erase it. That didn't work well. Then I tried to brush away the extra with a paintbrush that I've been using to deal with overfoiling, and then left a big old smudge. So you know what? We're going to trim it down. I think it was trimmed down to 3 3/4 by 4 3/4, something like that, so that it fit in my 5 by 7 frame. And then we took the embossed version that was cut to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4 and adhered that behind it. I was going to use that for a whole different card, but sometimes we just have to go with it. And so we're having the embossing and the stitching, the die cutting, on the same card. And I think it actually makes a beautiful, different textured background. Now we're going to adhere this already assembled sled with the poinsettia grouping and with the mix and match holiday greetings, sending Christmas greetings right on the front there. Now the sending Christmas greetings comes in a glimmer also. We are also going to use the Christmas time sentiments, that's from the Christmas traditions from 2021, to add a sentiment to the inside of my card. I am using the Stardust Concord 9th ink to give that gold image without the shimmer and without the ink transfer. You don't have to wait for it to dry. Now I am using the Lunar Gray cardstock that I glimmer foiled with silver with the Plaid Tidings, and I also die cut another white cardstock panel with the stitched Petal diamond, and I die cut it with one of the Essentials diamonds. I also die cut a piece of vellum to fit right behind that because I wanted a little bit of extra definition. Actually, I started out with just the vellum piece, but it turns out the vellum intensifies the glimmer instead of dimming it to help highlight your actual main image. Now we're going to assemble another of the floral groupings on the bottom of this sled, and we're going to use the Glimmer version of those sentiments, the Merry Glimmer sentiments. So this says, sending Christmas greetings again. I wanted to compare and contrast the mix and match holiday greetings and the Merry Glimmer sentiments. So we've got the die cut version, and then we have the Glimmer and coordinating die version. I think they're both great, and they're slightly different sizes. That is awesome. That way, if you need your scale to be just a little bigger or a little smaller, you have some options with the same beautiful font. I did add a little dimension behind each of these and adhered them to my sled. Normally, I adhere things from the card base up, but this element works really well. So if you wanted to make a bunch of those sleds and add all of your image extras on top of them and then adhere them to the front of your card, there's no rules saying you have to do it from bottom up. I'm assembling our A2 card, which is a 5.5 by 4.25 inch card base with the Plaid Tidings cut with the precision layering dies and the A2 set. I think this is probably the 4 inch by 5.25 inch. And then I'm just adding a little bit of dimension behind some of these layers, but not all of them. Got to fluff my poinsettia a little bit. Loving that. There's so much shimmer on those. I don't feel the need to embellish. Next, I pulled out a warm gray ink from my stash to add a silver-ish greeting to the inside. I wanted it to match the Lunar Gray cardstock. That happened to be gray granite from Stampin' Up! From my stash. Then we are going to take the crossed lines card front, and we're going to glimmer a 5x7 piece of this Dune cardstock. I did double over or let them overlap in the center, and it's not perfect, but I don't think it needs to be. If you really look at it, you can find the spots where it didn't glimmer perfectly, where I didn't have the foil all the way to the edge, but I still think this is amazing. I really love how this turned out. That plate is actually designed to be an A2 card base front, which is the 4.25 by 5.5 inch size. But I love to make 5x7 cards. And I know there's a lot of you out there who do. And I've just learned how to adapt my products to make 5x7 size things. I did trim this down to 6.5 by 4.5 inches. And there is a layering 5x7 layering set from Spellbinders that I wish I had, but I don't. There are several companies, not as many as A2 size, but there are a lot of companies that have A7 products. Spellbinders has more than average. They have a lot, and I love that. This time we're using the last of our little groupings of what I had die cut of the pine boughs and the branch. And we're just going to tuck those in under our saying, which is again from that Gifts of Christmas glimmer foil set from last year. And die cut that with the essential diamonds. I love how that perfectly nests right into all of the different elements. Now we're going to take another of the glitter greetings and we're going to adhere that to the inside of our card, and that finishes up that card. My fingers were so dirty from all of the things. I wanted to make sure I didn't transfer it to the inside of the card, so I used a piece of scrap paper to do that. There is card number 5. That is 5 cards I created with all of these different collections. I had an afternoon of so much fun assembling all of these cards. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making all of these cards, and they're going to add to my Christmas card stash. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments which of these cards you liked the best, or if you have any questions about the products. If you're interested in any of the products I used today, check that description box below. They are always listed and linked there. And here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment to do that now. I really appreciate it. And until next time, bye-bye.